Hello, mainstreamers and cinephiles and everybody in between. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlyn.
And Operation Silver Screen is a go.
Hello, welcome to Operation Silver Screen. This cinema-related operation has been created to clear our desks from stacks of open cases. And what are these cases? Well, even being the film lovers that we are, Bryant and I have a huge backlog of must-see films that we still need to experience. So each week we'll tackle a film that either one of us or both of us still need to see. We'll then provide a debrief on our week's mission, giving our outlook on the film's popularity and significance, as well as providing our opinion on whether or not it is worth seeing and other fun insights. So Bryant, what did we tackle this week?
Our assignment this week was to find a virgin to light the black candle, retrieve a spellbook, and watch as three witches rise from the dead as we take a look at Hocus Pocus. Not just some old Hocus Pocus, the Hocus Pocus, a beloved cult classic and Halloween TV tradition for many, one that is receiving its own legacy sequel here shortly. Now, I say this is a Halloween tradition for many, but not for one particular little girl back in the 90s till the 2000s. Caitlyn, please tell us about your sheltered childhood. And just know that I did some background journalism, so don't lie.
Background journalism? You looking into my file?
I had.
Oh boy. Yeah, now as a kid, I was a very sheltered child. My family was very religious. We didn't really celebrate Halloween that much, so a lot of the Halloween movies that a lot of people watched in their childhood, I just did not watch. I did watch Halloween Town. That was a Disney Channel original movie, but I watched that much later. I didn't really celebrate Halloween until I was an older child, late elementary, early middle school. So everything up before that, I did not celebrate Halloween at all.
Okay. That lines up. That lines up with what I was told.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because me and my mom had a conversation about it the other day about how we didn't celebrate Halloween. And I was like, I distinctly remember you taking me to one of those Christians have this weird Halloween celebration that they have, or a lot of Christian churches do this where they'll have instead of scary, spooky Halloween stuff, it's here's hell. You're gonna die and go to hell if you don't give your heart to Jesus. And so a lot of places will decorate stuff. They'll decorate a car crash of people dying, and it's very traumatic. And so I had this strong memory in my head of my mom taking me to this, but apparently she never did. And I had just heard about it, and I think maybe we had walked past it or walked through it, but she never took me to the actual event because she was against that, which thank goodness, because I had this view of my mother for a long time that she was just adamantly against Halloween, that the Lord is against Halloween, this is the devil, and the true horror is that we're all going to hell. So I'm glad she was not like that back then and did not drag me as a small child to this thing. But it was definitely walking past it or hearing about it or whatever it was definitely still enough to be traumatic because I still have that distinct memory, which I'm now learning was a false memory.
Oh, look at our podcast, bringing families back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a Christian as well, and I do not remember that at all. I never even heard of that.
Granted, I lived in Texas at the time, so it might have been a Southern Baptist Christian type thing. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, never mind. That totally makes sense. I thought you were talking about Maryland.
Yeah. No, Texas Christians are another level.
Yeah, most definitely. Or, so, I mean, Texas overall is just a traditional state in many ways, for better or worse. And, yeah, that sounds horrifying as a child. That sounds more horrifying than actual Halloween. And I never understood, the whole religions against Halloween. It's sort of like the religions against Harry Potter, which is why I was kind of, wondering, I was kind of curious, because you say you were sheltered and sheltered by religion, but you saw Halloween Town, and you were also into Harry Potter, but like you said, that was late elementary, early middle school, right?
Yeah, and my mom was actually the one who read Harry Potter. She never had anything against Harry Potter, but it wasn't something that we talked about, being against Halloween as Christian. It's just something that we just never did or celebrated when I was a kid.
I don't know, it's such a cool holiday. You get dressed up and you get free candy. I don't know, you also you just have a nice walk about the neighborhood, and I don't know, it really doesn't take much to celebrate.
Yeah, I guess. I remember watching some Halloween episodes here and there of shows I was already watching, and I don't know, I think that my mom just thought it was too scary, or I don't know. I mean, I don't think that it was so much for her anyways. I don't think she like viewed it as like pagan holiday, oh my gosh, evil. But I feel like for her, maybe she just, she thought that was too scary for how old I was. I'm not really sure. I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of like spoopy Halloween things that aren't very scary. It's just nice fun dressing up, fun stuff for kids. But I don't know. You'll have to ask her.
Wait, so was this all your mom's doing?
No, I mean, it's probably both of my parents, but I know my mom was a little bit more, she monitored more what I was watching. Like, I wasn't allowed to watch Power Rangers as a kid because there was too much violence, and my uncle had to sneak it. When I was with him, we would watch it together, but she was definitely, like, a little bit more wary about, like, content that I was watching, and same with my brother.
Dang, I thought I was sheltered. Because my mom was really, restrictive of the content that I would watch, but I remember watching Power Rangers and things like that. It was more of the adult humor and animation that I wasn't allowed to watch. Like South Park was a super
Okay.
no for a while. But yeah, no, doing my background journalism, I was told that it was your dad. It wasn't your mom. Like your mom had no part, as what was relayed to me.
Did you talk to her about it?
Yes, I did.
Did you? What did she say? Because now I'm curious. Because maybe, like, I've never really had this conversation too much with her, except for about the Halloween Christian car crash thing.
It was, I mean, it was a quick conversation. Because I just said, so how come you don't celebrate Halloween? And she said, it isn't me. It was her dad.
Oh, okay. See, like, when you're little, you don't, like, have a full grasp. Like I said, this is things that happened in my childhood, but I assumed it was my mom because, like I said, she was always worried about what content we were watching. She was very anti-violence and didn't want anything, like, to be too... But she was just very particular about some kind of stuff. So, but that's interesting. I mean, it makes sense. It was my dad, but I just don't remember ever associating him with anything like that. It makes sense, though. Sorry, Mom.
Look at all this revelation. Do you want to take a pause, call your mom, tell her you love her, tell her that you're sorry about all those angry voicemails, all those drunken, do you get like drunk at Halloween parties and call your mom and blame her for like depriving you of this experience from when you're little?
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, when I was older, like, I didn't go to trick-or-treating until I was, like, an older kid with, like, friends that I knew were going it, and in their own neighborhoods, they would invite me along. But, like, until then, like, it wasn't a thing. But definitely now, I definitely celebrate Halloween. I love Halloween. My mom celebrates Halloween now. But, like, I couldn't tell, like, if it was just, like, her changing her attitude or her just, like, being more wary because I was little. I don't know. But, yeah, apparently it's my dad, which it makes a lot of sense.
Man, look at that. Look at that. Man, everybody thought they were going to come here today, listen, and learn about Hocus Pocus. And all sorts of revelations are coming up. While we're uncovering the background to your shelter life from Halloween, we got a chance to at least fill in the gaps utilizing this platform. And one of the gaps that we filled up for you is a tradition, like I said, for many, which is Hocus Pocus. And before we go and talk more about Hocus Pocus, I do want to let you guys know that do not worry. This portion of the podcast is declassified. There's no spoilers in here. This is open to everybody. So if you have not watched Hocus Pocus, if you're also one of those shelter beings like Caitlyn, then don't worry. We're not going to go ahead and spoil anything for you. When we do start spoiling, we'll go ahead and give you a heads up. So, we do essential films on this podcast. We talk about all sorts of just must-see films. But this film's really, the critics don't say so much that it is a must-see film, or at least at the time. What did you find in your critic ratings and accolades for this film, Caitlyn?
I did see that it did not have a good critical reception. It did come out in July of 1993. July was chosen to coincide with kids having off school in the summer, but it was also going up against Free Willy at the time in the theaters. Jurassic Park was still in theaters from the month before it had just released, and people were still going to see that. So I don't think that it had a good theater run at all. And in fact, they said that it lost Disney $16.5 million during its opening weekend. It had an 8.1 opening weekend against a $28 million budget.
It's crazy that there was a time where Disney misplaced their movies. Like, they had to watch where they put their movies, because now everybody tries to avoid putting their movies in theater around Disney's time. Or if they do, they try to do some counter programming with it. But yeah, this did not go well with the critics. This only received a 39% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes for the critics. However, it has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes for audience. So there's a big difference there. And this is another film. Our first Rotten film was Top Gun, and it was like a big surprise that we had a Rotten film that we were saying is a must see film, or people were saying is essential film. But this will actually be our third now, just in a couple months, because we also did But I'm a Cheerleader, which was another cult classic that had a low critic score. On IMDb, this has a 6.9, and like you said, this was a box office flop. With a $28 million budget and a $4 million return, you then go ahead and you put in the marketing. Like you said, it lost, $16 million?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and looking at inflation, it's about $32 million. This did receive some awards, some Saturn Awards, and some nominations, but that was it as far as awards for this film. Anything else you found?
When it came to the critics, the most that people had to praise about it was just Bette Midler's performance, which we'll definitely talk about a bit later. I will say, though, that this didn't, obviously cult classic does gain a following later on, but for this film, it's very easy to see why it gained that cult following, because they started airing it annually on Disney Channel and ABC during Halloween for kids during their Halloween programming, and it definitely picked up an audience because of that. So this is an interesting cult classic because I think we can just pinpoint the moment it became a cult classic, In fact, it actually was rescreened in theaters during the pandemic, coming in second in the box office to Tenet, which, of course, there wasn't really much at the box office at that point in time, but it did gain a lot more money during that screening.
All right, so let's get into this Hocus Pocus. 3 witches who were hanged for their crimes 300 years ago in Salem return after a teenage virgin lights a candle. Now this boy, his love interest, and little sister must find a way to keep the witches from receiving immortality before sunrise. And I mentioned that this teenager is a virgin because, one, that is essential to the film. That's how they actually return to life. But it's also something that they do not let this kid forget and do not let the audience forget.
No, they do not. I definitely had that in my notes.
Yeah, they say it 9 times, but this is an hour-and-a-half movie. So it gets brought up pretty frequently. And it even at a point, even he says, yeah, I'm going to get a tattoo on my forehead. Can we just move on? Like, the last line in this movie is about him being a virgin.
Yes, it was. I'm surprised it's only 9 times. It just kept going.
How did you feel about this movie? You being the one that watched it for the first time, what did you think?
So this is a film that, while I didn't watch it as a child, it's definitely a film that I heard about and I knew about later. I've had friends and coworkers try to get me to watch this film for a long time. It's probably my biggest, I don't know if I want to say it's my biggest for shame, but next to the Titanic, it's the one that I get the most flack about, I believe. Between Hocus Pocus and Titanic, it's always, oh, you haven't seen this? I can't believe you haven't seen this. And people just lose their minds when they hear, but I haven't watched this film before. And so for me, I think that I don't want to say it gave me a negative view going into this film, but I don't think it helped either. I was very surprised by this film in that, I wouldn't say the humor, but the subject matter and the way that it approached things were a little bit more adult than I envisioned. I did think that it did push some buttons in some places, and I think that it had some things that did pleasantly surprise me in this film. It was different than what I thought I was getting into going into it. But overall, I do think that there are a lot of ways in which this film just does not work for me. And since I don't have the nostalgia to kind of lead me into it, I think that definitely was a problem for me going into this.
Man, those are 2 sides of the spectrum to be ashamed. Not seeing Titanic and not seeing Hocus Pocus. Now, you said nostalgia. I of course have some nostalgia with this. However, it's not going to affect the way I look at this movie. I talked about it, our debrief of The Matrix. Nostalgia doesn't mean anything to me. I'll go back and watch something that I absolutely loved as a child, And if it's garbage, I'll go ahead and say it's garbage. I'll even say things now are better than what they were before. I think, like some TV shows, yeah, I grew up with Saturday morning cartoons, but I tell you, man, kids have it better sometimes with some of them. Spectacular Spider-Man is better than the animated series. 2012 TMT is better than all the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle properties. All of them, including the live action movies, because those had some serious issues. So I watched this film, and it was a while since I last watched it. I can't remember. I was definitely a child, maybe a teenager at the time. So this is definitely my first time watching it as an adult. I also watched it with Devin, the rookie. It was his first time watching it. He's Generation Z, so I don't think they really care about Hocus Pocus at all. However, I'm pretty sure all the millennials are going ahead and showing their children now Hocus Pocus, because it's still airing. It's still airing annually on what is now Freeform. Used to be ABC Family. They changed their 13 Halloween nights to 31 Halloween nights. What I didn't know until a couple weeks ago is that this released to theaters originally. Because looking at this and thinking back to it, this feels like a TV movie. This very much feels like a TV movie. I was watching this, I couldn't believe that they put this in theaters. Not saying that it's bad, and not saying that it's cheap. It's just there's nothing really theatrical about this movie. The acting takes a minute to warm up. The acting's a bit painful. That's why I texted you saying, "Hey, Caitlyn, remember this is a kids movie." Not to tell you to take it easy, but just kind of get you in the right mindset. And I was also thinking to myself, I was like, man, Caitlyn must be having fun with this. Because it doesn't start off that strong. Well, I think actually it starts off strong in the opening. But once we get into the present day, again, I think like it has an interesting setup. But
yeah, I was actually surprised that it took place so far in the past. Like, I wasn't expecting that when it first came on, which I thought was cool to do that, but then the dialogue just was so rough for me. And they just, like, whoever wrote that script, he just added the word thee, thou, and, like, all those, oh, have thee done this? And, like, it was just not how I think people actually talked back then. He just was just doing his best, just throwing in the these there, the THEEs.
Yeah, I'll talk more about the dialogue writing in this later, especially when it comes to some of the jokes. But that's how people talk back then. I mean, nothing has really changed. We just stopped using thee and thou.
I don't think they talked like that back then. This was not good dialogue.
No. Yeah, with the dialogue, the acting, this movie, once it gets in the present day, it kind of stops. But it feels like a lot of movies that I used to watch back in the day. And it kind of felt like a opening to a lot of sitcoms as well, almost. But then the movie finally it kicks off. I would say I'm surprised by it too, like how much adult humor was in this, like how much innuendo was in this movie. It almost reminded me of Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is another movie that's like, man, this can be fun for kids, but at the same time, there's a lot of adult humor in this, and I don't think this came as close as Beetlejuice, but for being a PG movie or maybe rated G, I'm pretty sure it's PG because those witches get hanged. Like you see their feet dangling. Which I was also surprised about. I don't remember that at all on Disney Channel.
Yeah, so between the hanging and just the fact that they were killing children, like I wondered if it was edited for Disney Channel. I know, for example, 17 Again was a movie that was like an actual film and then formatted for Disney Channel, and I knew it as a Disney Channel movie, but there were scenes, like there was a condom scene that was edited out when it went to Disney Channel. So I wondered if this was edited, and I couldn't really find anything about whether or not the film was edited in the US, but in the UK version, the legs hanging in the hanging scene were cut, as well as some headless zombie moments in the film. Those were cut out from the UK Disney Channel. So I imagine the US version probably cut some stuff out because, child murder and hangings are not something that seem very on brand for them. But, I just couldn't find anything definitive.
Oh, the child murders were there. I remember all of that. I remember I was about to spoil, but I remember the editing makes it pretty clear that some children were murdered. And that I remember vividly. So, yeah, maybe it was a good thing that they edited out that for the children. Maybe they, supports, issues that I have. But this starts off like a very basic story. I feel like we've seen this a lot. I had it written in my notes that a new kid moves into a town. I'm glad that they spared us the whole like them actually moving in the house with the boxes and everything like that. So he moves to town. The town has a secret. He meets a girl. The girl is one of the popular girls or one of the more beautiful looking girls. And there's also some bullies in town that may be related to the girl as well. And that may sound familiar to you because I had that written in my notes as well because we have the movie Lost Boys. I don't know. Have you seen Lost Boys?
Yeah, I do like the Lost Boys.
Yeah, Lost Boys. That's exactly what happened. The guy moved in there with his little brother. He started digging on some chick, got into it with some bullies. They uncovered the plot of the movie together.
Well, I feel like every like high school movie is always, oh, new kid in town. Oh, you're bullied. Oh, blah blah blah. But it like these bullies were very cliche and frustrating. But I did like the story with the girl in this situation because I mean, she never seemed that unattainable. Whereas I think sometimes it's like, oh, this is a popular, you never have a chance. I don't think it really played up that very much. And from the get-go, it showed the main character as someone who did have a lot of self-confidence. He gives her his number right away, even though he thinks he might not have a chance of her. Like there was some things that I thought did do well, a little bit different than the normal.
Yeah, they get right into it. They don't really play up that he's this nerd and he's into well, I mean, it's kind of similar to Lost Boys as well. He wasn't really a nerd or anything. It was actually his brother that was more the nerd and had the information about the the vampires and what the plot became to be. I think Goosebumps was similar to that, and also the Small Soldiers. I don't know if you've seen that movie as well.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that was that too. I did like that movie.
Yeah, I remember liking that movie a lot too. Yeah, the bullies again aren't that great. Doesn't help that the dialogue in this movie isn't that great. But the plot finally kicks off and it gets going, but then it immediately halts. And it's kind of, this is an hour and a half movie, but not really much happens in this movie. Like, they are trying to prevent them from getting the book. They're being chased by the witches. And then they both go like their separate ways and they end up doing their own stuff in town. Like, the kids are trying to tell the adults what's happening. Of course, the adults aren't going to believe them, but they try twice to do it. And then the witches, they're doing like a fish out of water search for the children. So we get a lot of those usual gags with that just make them kind of look idiotic and just blundering around.
Just for context, so after lighting the candle, the kids do take I don't know what the book is called, but their grimoire type book from the witches. And so it's kind of like this back and forth with the kids running around and running from these witches as they try to get this book from them.
And it's really, by them running around, it's just a scene of jokes stitched together, much like the zombie in this film. Mm-hmm. Like, even the zombie chasing them doesn't go on for long. It goes on for like 2 seconds.
I feel like the zombie just was the worst part of the film for me because it like was just so random. It didn't really have a place, I felt, in the story other than giving them something else to run from.
Yes, and there's another movie that I'll go ahead and compare to that I think did a better job of raising minions to track down the children. But without like much going on in the story, there's really not much to talk about in this movie. I think one thing that was impressive were the visual effects for the time. I think the visual effects were actually good. I was waiting for, there is a cat in this movie that begins to talk, and I thought it was going to look way worse, but it actually doesn't really look that bad. So I was actually kind of disappointed. I was ready to have a laugh. I inhaled, and then he spoke, and I said, "Oh, that's actually not that bad." And the movie, honestly, it just goes back and forth between them being found and running until the climactic moment that has some plot holes in it. But I think that the movie it's still a decent amount of fun. I see why this holds up as a cult classic to watch with children. I think we have way better options nowadays. But I wasn't suffering through this movie, but I was never thrilled. I was never on the edge of my seat. I did get a couple chuckles out of this. It's a decent Halloween flick. Little subpar, actually. Subpar dated Halloween flick.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I had kids, I would not introduce them to Hocus Pocus. I feel like there's more engaging movies for kids. I like personally, I felt like I was getting bored at some point. So like if I'm getting bored, I can imagine like the attention span of someone who is like of a young child. Like that's going to be even smaller than mine, I would hope. But so I don't know. I feel like there's more engaging films out there, and there's so much variety out there now with Halloween content for children, but I don't know. I don't see how this holds up other than pure nostalgia from millennials, personally speaking.
No, I agree. I wouldn't show this to a child. This wouldn't be the first movie that I would choose. I mean, when it comes to children and Halloween movies, there's really honestly a kind of a small gap when you introduce them to Halloween movies that are completely harmless, and then you take a step into actually showing them the scary movies. But this, yeah, the only reason you really show this to your child is if you're nostalgic, which people are. It's not just millennials, it's a lot of people. But like after a certain time, once like a child like becomes more aware, and it's not just they need visuals on screen. I think this movie has enough like Halloween visuals to keep your attention, keep a child's attention. But once like you actually your ears open up and you start hearing the saying and you start to kind of have like some idea and expectation for a plot, this movie starts to fall apart.
I gotta say, going back to your thoughts on the cat, the visual effects there, I was not impressed at all. I think in my mind, I was expecting more of like a Salem Saberhagen type look, and that is not what I got. And so it just kind of looks silly, and I kind of wish they had just kept a little bit more practical for this cat. There were times that did surprise me. There was a scene where he gets run over, and you see his body start to inflate because this cat can't die because he was cursed by these witches. And that I thought was an interesting scene and something that I wasn't expecting from the movie. I thought that was an interesting moment. Although there was another moment when our virgin was going to light the candle that the cat attacks him to try to ward him off. And I just kept laughing because I kept thinking of the Community zombie episode. Do you remember that?
Yes, I absolutely love that scene.
And the cat just keeps attacking him. He's like, "Oh my gosh, how many cats are down here?" And
like, I
think I got a bigger laugh for that moment just thinking about Community than I did probably the whole entire film.
I got a laugh from that scene too, but that's because puppet cats make me laugh. Anytime somebody gets attacked by a puppet cat, I crack up. I mean, I was kind of expecting. I was expecting either. Actually, no, I wasn't expecting like Salem from Sabrina. I wasn't expecting a practical effect. I was, from like at least what I can remember, I don't remember a puppet. So I thought this was going to be like pretty much like you just see a cat and then it's like mouth is the only thing digital and that's just moving while the cat's like looking in other places. I thought it was going to be that bad, but it wasn't. And this was actually the first Disney production to ever use digital effects.
I did see that.
Yeah, so I think for the time and especially being the first, I think they did a good job on it. I don't think it was bad, and I think they also knew like, hey, it's not totally real. They didn't spend a lot of time on it. I think he got his words out, and then they let the cat go. And there wasn't like a lot of ADR. Like you can tell like this cat is just going off, and then somebody just recorded the lines while they were just videotaping this cat just walking about doing cat things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Maybe it was good for its time. I just don't think it holds up.
I'll put it in that category of could have been worse.
I know that a huge chunk of the budget went towards the witches' designs, and that's another thing that kind of was off-putting for me for this film, because I think the character designs are just so ugly, and I get that's the point. But those character designs, just the way they look, they are some hags for real.
But one of those hags, I don't know, one of those hags does it for me.
Sarah Jessica Parker?
Yeah. I remember having a crush on her, watching this movie early on in my childhood. And I don't know, I saw some pictures, and then also like I saw actual Sarah Jessica Parker, and I was like, maybe it's just because I was a child. And then I was watching it again for this rewatch. I was like, okay, no, I see it. I get it.
Yeah. she was decent. I can understand that, but like looking at Bette Midler's, like I just felt uncomfortable looking at her. No offense to Bette Midler or anything, but whew.
Yeah, no, it's very not very 90s, but it's Halloween store-esque. It's nothing impressive. I mean, this did get some, I believe, some accolades for its wardrobe. However, it's dated. It's very dated. So I'm interested to see how they'll do it in the remake.
I mean, I think it worked because these obviously are memorable characters. I mean, would recognize them from their silhouette or whatever, as they're saying is a good character design. But, I just think, just me personally, just aesthetically, I'm just looking at it, I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at you anymore.
Yeah, no, I get it. They're supposed to look vile, haggish, which they do. I don't really know how I feel about Winnie's, like just her jaw slightly to the right the whole time. But speaking of the witches, how did you feel about the witches? Because for me, I feel like they were just, I don't know, they were just like bumping about, a whole bunch of screaming. There was so much screaming in this movie from these individuals, more than anybody else you would expect. They were just there for straight comedy. They weren't at all terrifying.
No, they definitely weren't. And most of them, I mean, honestly, 2 of the 3 witches were pretty, like, they were there for comedy relief, while Bette Midler was the one who was the main villain of the group. And that kind of bothered me, because I kind of feel like it was so focused on her that I didn't get to see the sisters. Like, the whole thing is these are the Sanderson sisters, but really it's just Bette Midler and her backup. So that kind of bothered me a little bit. I would have liked to see a little bit more. I did like Sarah Jessica Parker. I did like her humorous parts a little bit. But these witches were so freaking dumb. They are the dumbest witches. Like, they're supposed to be terrifying, but like spray some water on them and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna die, we're gonna burn. Like, they just had no clue what was going on, and like there were just things that would happen that the kids would try to trick them using modern devices that didn't really seem that clever. Like, I guess this was also shot before iPhones and stuff, because like if this was like nowadays and you like showed them your iPhone, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get it why you're like so bewitched by this new technology. But like, for some water, just some water, it was literally just some water got thrown on them, some like rain, and I'm like, you know what water is. This shouldn't be that scary. But they were freaking out, and so it bothered me with that. But then there was also like a disconnect sometimes, because they would make comments about that worked in a modern sense. Like, I know there was a line in the movie where Bette Midler's character was like, oh, do you have your driver's permit? I'm like, how do you even know what a driver's permit is? Weren't you just scared of water a second ago, but now you're suddenly up to date on modern things? Like, it just was inconsistent. It was very inconsistent to me.
That's what I was going to mention for the dialogue that I had an issue with. Because it's that one. It's the driver's permit, and they make another joke. And it's just, okay, so wait, do you guys know? Do you guys not know? These are the most non-threatening child murderers out there, probably. Like, even more non-threatening than David Bowie. Though he just kidnapped children, right?
Yeah, he didn't murder children, I don't think.
I don't know what he did with the children. I don't think I want to know.
Did he turn them into goblins?
Did the children get turned into goblins?
I think so, but I couldn't remember. But he only stole Toby because he was in love with her.
Oh, okay.
He was in love with Jennifer Connelly and wanted her to come into his realm with him.
Did he know that she was 16?
Well, it was the 80s.
That's true. That would never mind. Keep this for the kids. By the way, can we get a count? How many times have we mentioned Labyrinth on this podcast?
I know. It's a shame we can't do a Labyrinth episode.
Maybe we do like some kind of, I don't know, bonus episode. But yeah, these witches, they're just, I don't know, they were just there for a gag. And you already have 2 of them being comedic relief. And then you get all 3 of them together and like they see Satan. It's just a guy in a Satan costume. And we have this whole Gary Marshall in a Satan costume, and it threw me off because I was like, wait a second, is this movie directed by Gary Marshall? Nope, it was just his cameo, I guess. Yeah. So I'm not I'm not really sure. I mean, I can see why they're iconic for nostalgia, but looking at them now, like there's nothing to these witches, which was kind of probably the most disappointing thing rewatching this because I feel like that's the biggest thing going into. That's what you continually see. That's what you continually hear about this movie. So hoping the remake they make them a little bit more threatening and a little bit more competent. Actually, a lot more competent.
Yeah. I mean, Bette Midler definitely got her praise. Like I said, reading some of the criticisms, the only positive thing that they really had to say was Bette Midler's performance, and she is a talented actress. And like I said, I think that the costume designs, while I thought they were ugly, I do think they are very memorable and good designs in that way. So I understand why it's iconic characters, but I definitely expected a lot more in their actual character behaviors.
Last thing I want to mention are the characters of the kids. I mean, they're just kids in a predicament in a movie. There's nothing really to them. We already talked about one's the new kid in town. I would say that I did like the brother sister aspect here because it wasn't a constant. Yeah, it wasn't a constant bickering and sibling rivalry. They had like their tension, of course, because they're siblings, but they did have a care for each other, and I like to see that.
Yeah, I did too.
I think overall the little girl, her acting was well done. I was surprised for most of it. That's another thing that I worried about was going back to this and seeing the child actor. But honestly, she was probably the best one out of the three. I think she even has a comedic scene, and she plays it very well.
Which scene?
The scene where they find her when they just return and they find her behind the desk.
Oh yeah, I thought she played that well as well. Yeah, I definitely think that she, out of all the actors, definitely gave more of a performance. I think it felt more genuine too. Our main guy, he was something, but even more so than him, the girl that he was interested in and tagged along with him, she really had no personality at all this entire film. And I felt kind of bad for her because I was like, oh, okay, you're just kind of in the background. I think at times I kind of just forgot about her, to be honest.
She was the one making the plans, though. She was the one making the actual moves. So that's honestly, but that was all her personality. She was just the smart girl. They also... Actually, we'll talk about that in spoilers, like how they're because she is the love interest. We'll talk about how their love blooms in this film, and by bloom I mean just like straight sprouts up, like overnight, Jack and the Beanstalk. Is there anything else you want to say about your opinion of this film?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the musical numbers in this film because they felt strange to me. I think I knew the I Put a Spell on You song or whatever it's called. I knew that song before. So I thought there was going to be more music in this film, but it had music in it, but it wasn't enough to make this a musical. So it kind of felt a little bit off to me.
I think it worked since the music had an actual purpose. They were singing to actually put a spell on them. And yeah, I kind of felt that it was off at first because when Sarah starts to sing, I was literally typing in my notes as she was singing. I was like, this feels really off and misplaced. And then I saw like the children were following, and I went to Devin and I said, this is what I'm typing, and I just backspaced it all. Well, it has a purpose.
Yeah, I guess it does have a purpose, but it still felt off, I think, in the film.
I was cool with it. I think, especially coming from Pinocchio, and I talked about how frustrating it was, like how off it felt with Pinocchio's live action remake and the musical numbers in that. And I felt like this had a purpose and it was committed to its musical numbers.
Gotcha, okay. I can see that.
Because they even mentioned in the beginning, like the townsfolk were scared of them singing. So it set it up in the beginning like, hey, they can do spells by singing.
Oh, I thought they were just like covering their ears from their voices in general. Like if they were telling a spell, I didn't connect the dots that it was for singing specifically.
Yeah, she said, "Open your mouths, ladies, let's sing," and they start to do a little singing just to make them drop the book.
I missed that.
Well, that's what happens when you see the movie 50 times. You notice little details or a little artistic touch, as they call it.
How many times have you seen this?
I have no idea.
A lot.
Yeah, definitely a lot. I mean, you gotta remember. I mean, this was made and released the year that I was born, so I was there day one that this was finally released on ABC and Disney Channel. And I was big into the Disney Channel movies. I was always excited for them. That was like, I'll hear Monday that, hey, Friday, this movie's coming on 9 p.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. Pacific, whatever, Mountain Time, Central. And I'll go ahead and be ready for that. And also, growing up with network TV and cable, especially before satellite, we didn't have options. And we said that this movie doesn't hold up compared to a lot of movies out now, but a lot of the movies that I'll say that are better for children, that are better movies and better for children, they weren't around when I was little. So this was honestly the only like Halloween kids movie that I can think of.
Yeah, well, this in Halloween Town.
Yeah,
I would
Halloween
say.
Town.
I think later Twitches came later as far as like Disney Channel original Halloween movies. There's
I don't
probably
remember
some
Twitches.
other ones. That was with Tia and Tamara Mowry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind. I remember that. Oh, wait, that was much later on.
Yeah, I said that's
'Cause-
later on that came. But there was also
Yeah.
like 4 Halloween Town movies, and they were constantly playing them. I think I have like more of a connection with Halloween Town, even if I don't really remember it, and I've only seen, like, I don't know which ones I've seen, but I don't remember it very well. But I think for me, with connecting Disney Channel, I think Halloween Town, not Hocus Pocus.
I do too. I associate Hocus Pocus more with the ABC Family freeform. When I think Disney
Gotcha.
Channel, I think Halloween Town.
Gotcha.
It even feels like better place. Like it's weird that this was on Disney Channel. I think.
How so?
Like I don't think this, because I think the movies on Disney Channel, like, they were for kids. Like everything of it was geared specifically towards that demographic. While this is more for everybody. This is for the family as a whole. But Disney Channel, like,
Yeah.
hey, this is for you.
That's true. One thing I wondered if they cut out was the whole Yabos joke. That the little girl, when she sees the love interest in her dress, she says, "I don't have Yabos like you, and my brother really likes your Yabos."
Yeah, I doubt they cut that out, because that's an innuendo. That goes over the head. Though when he was staring at her going up the stairs, I thought, what is he staring at? Because she's wearing like a whole bed sheet on her. You can't see any kind of figure.
Well, use your imagination.
He was using a lot of it. We talked a little bit about the influence this movie had. What did you find?
Well, like I said, but the Sanderson sisters, they did become iconic characters, and it's easy to find Hocus Pocus related merchandise and costumes around Halloween. And Disney World has events that focus on the Sanderson sisters as well as other Disney villains too around Halloween that they have. And as far as events go, Salem also, the town, capitalizes off the film for tourist reasons and also has held Hocus Pocus related events. They did film part of this movie. Most of it was filmed in California, but there were parts that were filmed in Salem. And one landmark that they filmed there was Allison's house, the big, white, expensive-looking house. And I actually have been there. I went to Salem a couple years ago, and I walked past that house. And of course, it didn't really mean anything to me at the time, but I did know, they make it known that, oh, this is the Hocus Pocus house.
Were you that kid in the back? What's Hocus Pocus? And they were like, burn the witch!
Probably.
Burn the non-believer! With the merchandise, yeah, actually I saw an ad scrolling through Facebook yesterday that Hot Topic has a catalog for this movie, for Hocus Pocus.
It doesn't surprise. There's so much merchandise and so many like Halloween costumes of people who want to dress up like the sisters. So it's pretty big. I mean, it's Disney, so it shouldn't really surprise us, but it definitely has an influence there.
Yeah, it's Disney and it's nostalgic for millennials. So yeah, that screams money.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Of course, also this movie is getting a legacy sequel. So it definitely has some influence. I mean, and this is a large gap. This is a 29-year-old gap.
They figured Top Gun can do it, so can Hocus Pocus.
Is this going to be the Maverick of Halloween?
I don't know about that.
Hey, we didn't really think Top Gun, we didn't think Maverick was going to be that big. We didn't think Maverick was going to be that good.
That's true. It
So,
shocked us.
so who knows? We also mentioned that this is Disney's first movie with digital effects, which again, aren't bad. I think they're actually rather good. I think, and there's another movie that I want to talk about. Actually, I'll mention the movie, but I'll go into detail when I think it's better. And Scooby-Doo, which I actually rewatched a couple weeks ago. The live action one with Matthew Lillard. That movie is kind of infamous for a lot of its bad CGI in that film. But there's a particular scene in there that I think, man, they did it better in 93. How did you guys screw it up in 2003?
Which scene?
I'll have to mention it in spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah. Another influence that it had is that theaters, studios, they all learn, do not release a kid-friendly Halloween movie during the summer. I don't think anybody has tried that again. I see what you were going for. I see your counter-programming. You think because the children are out of school, they're going to want to go to the theaters, which, again, it's kind of reminds me of Jaws. They didn't think that the movie was really going to work for the summer because they thought everybody was going to be inside. It's weird how studios used to think that theater goers used to attend theaters. I don't know if the statistics actually held up, actually support their thoughts, or they just didn't have them at the time. Because honestly, everybody goes to the movie pretty much all the time now. I think towards the holiday, families go out more. But if kids are going to school, I mean, they still have the weekends freed up.
Yeah.
But July is not a time for a kid-friendly Halloween movie. Now, a horror film, yeah, sure. But this is a themed movie. Because this isn't just a kid-friendly horror scary film. This is a Halloween film more than anything.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I get the idea in theory, summertime, you want more kids' movies because people can take their kids to the movies during the day, whatnot. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I would not want to go see a Halloween movie in July, personally speaking.
No, I wouldn't either. A horror film I would go and see, but a Halloween movie? No. But honestly, any holiday themed movie I wouldn't want to go see during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to go see
a Christmas movie.
What's that?
Releasing a Christmas movie, if they did the Santa Claus during August.
Yeah, no. That, a Thanksgiving, a Halloween, Christmas. That's something I really want to. I can wait. I don't need it now. I mean, scary stories to tell in the dark. This is a good example of kind of preteen, kind of going from kid to being able to handle scary scenes. That movie released in August, but that was more of a horror film than anything.
Yeah.
What did you find for its significance?
I didn't really find too much, but I did just want to again say that this was an interesting case of, we can see why it gained its cult classic status. It really was bad timing for its release, and then put it on Disney Channel where kids were watching it, yearly. It became a yearly event. It really is an example of a film that found its audience and has done well since then. So I think it really is a true example of a cult classic in that sense.
And I just thought of something too, kind of talking about movies in general, because I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, you probably won't have the success again being able to have a movie fail and then put it on TV and see a resurgence. We do see movies still kind of flop and they make it to the home video market, but we don't see it because it's airing on a network annually, it picks up a resurgence. But there is something that has been discovered in recent years, and that is sometimes streaming random movies will all of a sudden get a resurgence. I think it was last year, the movie Knock Knock, a movie that was critically panned and not well received. I don't remember a lot of people talking about it. And then it just randomly shot up to number 1 on Netflix. I think that was the movie, or it was another movie where even the directors and creators said, yeah, I have no idea what happened. I just woke up one day and they're like, hey, your movie's number 1. That movie I made a couple years ago. Yeah. So it's still, I mean, times are changing, but there's still other avenues that I can go down and get us resurgence. We still have hope for cult classics, and I'm interested to see what the next ones will be. And I would say that's like you said, for your significance, this is a cult classic. This is one of the Halloween cult classics. I think there's a lot of horror film cult classics, but not many Halloween cult classics. I think honestly, if I had to guess for any genre that had the most cult classics, it would be horror films.
Yeah.
But that's because like the horror fandom is already a niche group.
Yes,
This
definitely.
did break records on ABC Freeform in 2009 for having a total of 2.5 million viewers for TV ratings. And then it broke that record again in 2011 for having 2.8 million during its 13 nights of Halloween, which is actually now 31 nights of Halloween. And the other significant thing is that this is a kid-friendly Halloween movie. And as I was saying, for me, that for a while, this was the only one of the few, very much oriented to kids Halloween movie. So we keep saying that this movie is for kids, it was geared towards them. But who would you recommend this to, general audience or cinephiles? Would you recommend this to the general audience children, or those really snobby, somehow super mature cinephile children?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to answer this from our usual way of answering this. Obviously, it's not a movie for cinephiles. But I think an interesting way that I wanted to look at it is, what ages would you recommend this movie for?
Oh, I would recommend this from 7 to 10, 7 to 11.
Okay. I think I would boost it up maybe a little bit. Probably go to, well, 11's not bad. Like, probably like 13, 12, 13. Like maybe 8 to 13, I think I would say.
I would think at like 12 and 13, that's when a lot of children, I know for me it was a little bit later. It actually, for me, it started earlier that I was into horror movies. With my mom showed me like a lot of horror movies. And then just for some reason, something switched with me and I started becoming like super scared. Like I just became too scared to watch horror
Really?
movies. Yeah, and I didn't watch them till
Interesting.
much later. I didn't really start watching horror films until I got into films overall, and I got really into them. But I think like 12, 13 is when they kind of want to see like more actual horror, and I think that's when you can start to put it on for them. And I think there's a lot more choices nowadays. I think 12, 13 would have worked back in the day when, again, this was like the only movie around. But I think there's better movies and can give children a little bit of a scare. Like I said, scary stories to tell in the dark. I think work better for that 12, the preteen and up age groups. Though I read a post, I think I sent it to you, where this parent said that their 12-year-old kept asking for something scary. They said that all the movies I was showing them weren't scary enough, and she was really into them. So I showed her The Descent, and I never questioned my parenting until now. So there definitely is there's a line there.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a hard line to cross, especially too because every kid is different. Because some kids are just going to be more sensitive to horror movies than others, and there's not really always an easy way to gauge that, I don't think.
No, you just kind of got to put it on and then just keep looking back and forth to make sure that they're still good.
Do you remember what your first like true horror movie was?
Man, it's hard because I watched them early on, which is weird because I know I also mentioned that my mother like sheltered me, censored me from a lot of things. So I don't know why she thought horror movies were cool. But and then I started watching them when I got much older. I forget like how I even really got back into them. What I started with. I would say the earliest scares I remember having is the Gremlins, which I know you haven't seen, and I know some people are probably laughing because they're like, that's a horror comedy more than anything. And yeah, I watch that film now and I love it, and I see it more as a comedy than anything else. But it used to terrify me, and it was one of the movies that I was like watching sitcoms, you learn a lesson like, hey, the best way to overcome your fear is to face your fear. So I told my grandma, I was like, hey, we're gonna put on Gremlins. I'm going to man up. I'm going to watch this movie. I'm not going to go behind the couch. I was like, I got this. 20 minutes in, Stripe shows up. Ah! Turn it off. I can't do this.
I think for me, The Grudge was my first real horror movie. And it was like when it was on TV, I kind of like snuck it. Because like I said, I was very sheltered. Like I wasn't watching horror movies really at all. And then I was like, I kind of like snuck The Grudge in. And then that kind of like was like what made me really like horror. I mean, not because that was the best movie, but that was the start. And I mean, before that, I was watching like Charmed a lot, like the TV show. Not that that's a horror at all, but I mean, like the witches were there, and that's kind of like how I'm used to seeing witches, not like the Sanderson sisters. But you know, so there were things there that I watched that were a little bit more secular. I don't want to say secular because I wasn't like I was only consuming Christian media or anything like that. But definitely it was an interesting transition going from being so sheltered to how I am now, which is like I love horror movies.
Yeah, same. I think, I started getting into horror movies when I started seeing more to them as well. Not to get pretentious with it, but there's an art to it. And I do have an early memory of a movie called Darkness Falls, which is about like an evil tooth fairy.
Tooth fairy? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that movie at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the Boogeyman or something like that. I think there was a Boogeyman movie around the same time. I was a teenager, and I remember like I watched those movies and I wasn't scared of them, so that's what kind of was cool to me. I was like, oh, I'm able to watch a scary movie and it's not scary to me. But I'm trying to remember when I got into film, what were the first scary movies I was watching? But I think I was kind of watching all the classics at that point. Scream, I think I watched early on. I think Scream was the first one that I was like, okay, I'm really like, I like horror, and it's interesting seeing horror be played for something else,
Mm-hmm.
or be combined with something else.
Yeah, that's true.
And going back to your other question, I say like 6 or 7 to 11. The reason I wouldn't go younger is because there's better options. I think the Hotel Transylvania series is a better option for little children. When I was spending time with my godchildren last month, they were really liking Hotel Transylvania, and they were, there's just a lot of fun visuals going on with the movie. It's animated. That seems like a much better Halloween movie for younger children. Again, I think if we're talking about like back in the day, then yeah, you would have to. There were no other movies.
I think too, just the witches, while they're kind of zany, they're also just very mean spirited. And for me personally, I don't know that I would want very young children, watching that, because I feel like they're scary just in a mean spirited way. Like they're just mean old women. The fact that they're mean old women is scarier than them being witches in this film. Like they're just kind of like loud and not very nice.
Yeah, they're just menaces to society.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm just thinking about how you would deal with the witches, and I'm just seeing you like call the cops from behind the blinds. But yeah, there's 3 witches outside my house. Like, are they cursing children? Yeah, but that's not the problem. They're just so loud. And they keep screaming, they're falling all over the place. I mean, they're not on my property, but they like kind of keep coasting on and off.
It was mainly Bette Midler. Like she was just I just did not like looking at it. Nothing against Bette Midler at all. Like she did what she was setting out to do, but like the lipstick, like even just like her lipstick, how like she did like the little like Queen of Hearts type look on her lips. It was, I don't know, just every part of her character design was just like, ugh, I didn't like it.
But I think that's what it's supposed to do. You're supposed to go, ugh. I mean, they're witches. They're
I know.
hags.
Just mean old woman. Mean old scary woman. But I feel like that would have been, if I saw that as a young child, I don't think I would have liked that. Not that it would, like, not that it's like I'm scared of witches and child, but just like because they're just off, like they're kind of just mean and just like, I don't know. I feel like I would have been really off put by the vibe, like the tone that they were given. By their vibes, yes. Their vibes they were putting out just would not have worked for young me.
I mean, young you was also sheltered, so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what your mom was really trying to keep you from. Maybe it wasn't like horror and scary things. Maybe it was just obnoxious people, rude.
Yeah,
people.
maybe. I can respect that.
Well, let's go ahead and open up this this declassified folder, and get into some spoilers here for Hocus Pocus. So if you have not seen the movie, proceed with caution, or go ahead and watch the movie and come back and listen to this second portion. And before we actually get into the discussion, I'm going to say one thing, because I've noticed that we've had some repeated viewers. When we put out our episodes, we automatically get a certain number. That number is always consistent. And I know for me, like I kind of skip the endings when they start to go on social media and stuff when I'm listening to podcasts, especially ones that I've already been listening to over and over again. So I just want to say to those individuals that, hey, please hit us up on the socials. Stick around on the ending, get that, and say hi. We may even give you a shout out. Love to hear from you guys. Let's go ahead and get into it, Caitlin. Where do you want to start with this film? I'll let you choose.
Let's talk about Billy, our zombie dude.
Okay.
For me, Billy was not needed in this story at all. He kind of was shoehorned in like as this weird love interest of two of the witches that kind of went back and forth, and he was cursed and he had his mouth shown shut, which, by the way, there's a moment in the film where he finally gets a knife and rips apart the seams that are holding his lips together, and some moths fly out of his mouth. Apparently the actor really did put some moths in his mouth and just spit them out, which is really gross. But if this actor was determined, at least it was a big actor. It was that big special effects actor played Billy. Is it Doug Jones?
Oh yeah, it was Doug Jones.
So
I didn't realize that. It just now clicked in my head.
Yeah, so good for him. He does a lot of good characters, and so I think he's a good addition, but the way that his character was handled in this film, I was not a fan.
No, this character was very unneeded. There was no point. Like I said, there was a 2-second zombie chase with them. As if they needed him to... It kind of reminded me of Goosebumps, which is another movie I mentioned, which I think is a better movie for children, when Slappy goes ahead and he brings all the monsters to the real world from the books. And I feel like it was that moment that, the main threat brings about the henchmen to go after and chase for our protagonist. And in this, it was, I don't know, it was just one person. Like, it was very anticlimactic. Like, they start raising the dead and one person wakes up.
Yeah.
I did like his backstory was cool, but it just didn't have any play.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of characters had different conclusions at the end of this, because you had people from different times. You have our main kids that we're following now, but then we also have Thackeray Binks, which is an awful name, and I hate that name. But because it doesn't sound real. It sounds like something like an amateur writer just like came up with. Thackeray Binks. I don't like it. Anyways, so you have Thackeray Binks and his sister, their story and how they end, and then you also have how Billy's story ends, and his story doesn't really end. He just kind of like crawls back in his hole and that's it. But also that's okay, because there wasn't really anywhere else for him to go as a character. Like I said, his character just wasn't necessary in this film at all.
Yeah, no, it was, he crawled back in the hole. Like, that's how little there was to his character, that his final lines was, Billy crawls back into hole.
Although I was reading that apparently a lot of people come up to the director and talk about how attracted they were to Billy. And apparently they made him to be an attractive zombie. And I don't get it, but you know what? Good for y'all. For having an open mind.
Yeah, to each his own. You know what those people said is that they've thought about necrophilia from time to time. Like, Billy is their gateway.
That's what I'm getting. Yeah.
Like, and I just want to let you know, guys, I'm not king shaming, but that's still not socially acceptable. Or is it? Is that socially acceptable?
I don't
to be
think
with a zombie?
So, right? A zombie? I don't know. There was that like Warm Bodies movie.
Yeah, I was about to say the Warm Bodies movie.
Film? Yeah. So maybe it is socially acceptable to fall in love with a zombie. I don't know. It might be now.
I mean, as long as they're conscious and they provide consent. And as long as you weren't the person that killed him, because then that just sounds like kind of
yeah, that'd be kind of...
It sounds like a real toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Asking the true questions around here. Can we talk about this classroom?
Classroom.
The classroom in the beginning of the movie. The movie starts off, or the present day starts off with Max, the main character, in the classroom, and the teacher's telling the story about Salem and Halloween and the sisters. for one, all the high schoolers are a little too into it. Like, I've had my classes
Yeah.
where I'm like, hey, generally, we like the class we're in, we're liking the topic, we're engaged. But man, they were overly engaged. They reminded me of Better Off Dead when they were taking the math class and they're all cheering. I don't know if you've seen that movie. That may be
I haven't.
yeah, it was kind of like that. And then I didn't understand the structure of the class because then Max, of course, he scoffs and he says, "Oh, that's some hocus pocus," and he goes ahead and he mansplains Halloween and is proven wrong by our other protagonist, the love interest Alice. But then he stands up in the middle of the class because he's doing some duels, and he stands up in the middle of the class and he goes to her and says, "Hey, unless Jimi Hendrix comes back into town, hit me up." Which I have so many issues with. One, did you really just there's passing notes in class and there's just standing up while the teacher's in the middle of the classroom. After all eyes and attention are on you, you decide to get up in the middle of the class and hand off the note and hit on the girl? Bravo to your confidence, sir. But
That's what I said.
that
like
is still
his
disruptive
confidence.
to the classroom. It's still disruptive to the classroom and the education.
But I liked his confidence because I think that's something I wasn't expecting to see from that kind of character. But then, like, the next scene when he's with the bullies, he kind of loses that confidence again. I'm like, okay, come on. We were working with something pretty good here, and then he ruined it.
Again, Lost Boys. I really think this was influenced by Lost Boys, his character. Then, also, that line, Jimi Hendrix comes to town. I felt like, when did Jimi Hendrix die? It was early.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, that line felt dated. Even during that time, that felt dated. But that whole, like, classroom scene was just it was just weird.
Yeah, I didn't have any major issues with it, but I'll have to watch. I don't want to watch this again. Maybe if I give this another watch, then maybe I'll try to see the layout of his classroom, because I didn't really notice anything right away.
I was just like, this is a weird, I don't know. I feel like there's no structure here. No wonder he got up in the middle. He's like, we've been sitting here for, like, school's almost over and I've only been here for 2 hours. What is this place?
So this was a film that I thought that it went on longer than it needed to. And I don't think that the initial ending for Thackeray made sense, that he was just going to be their pet for the rest of his entire life. Because there kind of, like, has, like, a false ending in this film. They put the witches in the incinerator, they go home, and it kind of seems like a false ending. But then I don't know how I feel about his actual ending either, where he just dies and becomes a ghost. I think it's a fitting ending, but the way that they handled it, I thought, was just very strange. Like, this guy was just obsessed with his sister, and I get that, but his little ghost sister just comes out and they just hold hands and they're just talking about virgins, and it was just a weird freaking moment for me. I was like, all right.
that last line was funny. It ended, one, it's a dead child, and I thought it was kind of weird that he was cool living with them and cuddling up with the little sister, because he is over 300 years old.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, you know what, we're just not gonna look too deeply into this. They were definitely cuddling.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be able to look past that. That's a nitpick, but think about it. Yeah, I feel like a couple things in here is just more the execution. I think it was written, or they try to write it to be more epic in its conclusion, with Max sacrificing himself, with Bink sacrificing himself and moving on into the afterlife, with the witches turning to stone and then exploding. Remembering it as a kid, I do remember it having more of an impact and more of a feeling to it. But watching again, yeah, it's not executed well. So I think, really, honestly, it's just the execution. I think if it was done better, we would have had more feeling and emotion to those moments, to Zachary Binks actually sacrificing himself and becoming, a being able to move on.
Now? You said Zachary Binks? Thackeray
Yes.
Binks. Yeah, I think that was my issue. It's Thackeray Binks, Binx.
No, it's Binks. B.
Yeah, Binx.
Oh, I thought you said G.
No. But I think that was my issue, is that there just, like, wasn't any emotion. Like, I feel like I wasn't particularly like it was like, all right, this is just how this ends, and I should have felt a little bit more happy for him. But it also doesn't help that he was a weird actor, and also these children were dumb anyways. Like his sister annoyed me because when she was killed, she had perfect opportunity to get up off that chair. They were not paying attention to her at all. She could have just got up and left, and she's just sitting there chilling. Like, come on, kid.
No, I had that in my notes that she was not phased at all. They never said that she was under a spell, so it didn't make sense why she was just numb. Like, this is what she wanted.
Yep.
I think with the ending too, some plot holes. I don't understand the whole hollow ground thing. Like, if you really could use the hollow ground, why not just everybody get in the hole and surround yourself with salt?
Yeah. I didn't get that either. And also they could hover above it, so it didn't really do them much good anyways.
Yeah, they just just couldn't touch it, literally. And I like how Binks failed to mention that.
Cast smells above it, but
yeah, it's they didn't know what to do. I mentioned that two of the witches blow up, and I think that's a special effect that works better in this movie than it does in Scooby-Doo when I don't know the appropriate name for them. I'm just going to call them the monsters. The CGI gremlin-looking dog things. When they got into the sun and then they started like popping and like their skin started popping and then they exploded. Mm-hmm. The effect looked better in this movie using real people than it did 10 years later using CGI and making them explode. Because when this happened, I was like, okay, that's actually not that bad.
I don't really remember that in Scooby-Doo, so I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, everybody look that up. Tell me if I'm crazy or not. Scooby-Doo, 2002. Man, I was close. Yeah, 10 years, because this was in production in 1992. Looks so much better. Well, not so much better. It just looks better, which I found, again, surprising. I think the effects weren't bad in this movie. Now, you were dreading this film. Did you suffer like you predicted?
The first half, no, I didn't. But then it just started to drag. There's a lot of just back and forth, like, oh, we need to keep in the book. We gotta run away from these witches. Oh, we got away from them. Oh, never mind. Here we are back again, and we're gonna go the same old cycle. And so it just felt tedious. It was hard for me to get through after a certain point. Like I said, it has that false ending. I don't think that would have made a good ending, but I thought that we were nearing the real end of the film. Like I said, I messaged you and I was like, this is a really long movie. And you're like, Caitlin, it's only an hour and a half. I was like, oh. Like, partly because, like, my time was messed up when I thought I put it on, but also it just felt long. It dragged.
Yeah, it did have a lot of back and forth. It was the children are running over trying to do something. The witches are having a fish out of the water moment. They meet up. They split up again. They meet up. They split up again. And then, they finally get together at the end and have it out. It was a lot of filler. In between the exposition and the conclusion of this film, or the climax. Is there anything else you want to talk about in the discussion?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Now, does this hold up for you?
No, I don't think it does. Like I said, I think there's just better options out there for kids now to watch, like those kind of spoopy, kid-friendly Halloween movies. Like, they have whole sections on Netflix now. I'm struggling to think of a good example because obviously I'm not a child and I'm not really necessarily seeking these out. I know they had that one with Christian Ritter recently. Whatever Netflix came out with last Halloween. Night Books, I think it's called. But so there's good options out there. Like, I haven't seen that one. I guess I can't really vouch for it, but there's options out there. And I feel like this one, for me, definitely is holding on to nostalgia. And I understand why the characters, to a degree, hold up as well as they do, but I don't think in general this film does. And I'd be curious to see, once millennials kind of get a little bit older and stop becoming main consumers, if this still holds up.
Yeah, the film she was in was Night Books, and I agree with you. This doesn't really hold up. Again, I'll give credit to the digital effects for holding up for the most part. But other than that, it's not even just that there's more options out there, there's just better options. This movie just does not hold up to them. And I mean, honestly, it's not even because of really the date. It's just that this movie isn't written well. And it's, the direction isn't filling this movie up. So I don't think it holds up. And like I said, I was surprised that this was actually a theatrical released movie. I thought this was TV. And I mean, TV is where this movie belongs. And like, I mean, TV, not even streaming. I think the quality of streaming is now better than this when you have straight to streaming movies.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see with this new one coming out how that fares. Because if they do it well enough, maybe that one will hold up for the future. Maybe that'll revitalize it, but we'll see.
I think if anything, if the movie is at least decent, I think it will at least be added to the catalog of kid-friendly Halloween films. I think it has the benefit of being modern, a little bit more attention put towards the film. But unless it's like the Maverick of Hocus Pocus, I don't really see it replacing this one, at least for nostalgia purposes, and I don't see it really having a lasting effect, or at least becoming as big as the original was.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you rate this film?
Okay, are you guessing?
Yeah, I think I got it.
I will give this a D+. I was not feeling this movie. I thought about giving it a C- because I'm like, this is for kids. If I wanted to go a little bit more lenient on it, but I don't know. I feel like as a kid, I don't know that I would have enjoyed this movie as much. I'm trying to put on my kid Caitlyn lenses. Like I said, I feel like it just the witches were just so mean spirited. And I get that they're witches and that's the point, but like kid me was watching Charmed and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so my version of what I saw a witch as was so different than this. So for like personal enjoyment of what I think I would have thought as a kid, and my personal enjoyment of now, and just the fact that the writing was just not very good. It was a lot of back and forth. The acting was not very good. I'm just gonna go D+. I'm trying to give it like a little bit of something there, just because it was a Halloween movie for kids during that time when there wasn't a lot of Halloween movies for kids.
That is what I predicted. D+.
Nice.
And thinking about it more, I was debating between a D+ or a C-, and I think I'm going to go D+. And the reason is because I think this is a D movie. I think this is a passable film, but I'll give it that plus just for this movie has some positives going for it. Again, the digital effects, I think, did a good job, and I don't know, also just for the for being child friendly while trying to remain family friendly. I think it works to a certain degree. So I don't think like this movie was like a failure or anything. I don't think this is really necessarily a bad movie. It's just passable, and I think they tried in this film. So I feel comfortable giving it a D+.
Yeah, I think passable is a good word to describe this film.
Yeah, like if this film was on TV and it was Halloween, if someone put this movie on in July and I'm at their house, I'm switching it. But if it was Halloween and they had this on, I would sit down and I'll watch the film. I wouldn't have an issue. But it's not like you're not going to see me pick this film out, and you're not going to see me pick this film out for children either.
Agreed.
And Caitlin, our next assignment is going to be taking place in the month of horror. What is it going to be?
Go ahead and get your puzzle box ready. We're going to be summoning a group of extra-dimensional beings known as the Cenobites as we watch Hellraiser, not a Halloween classic, but a horror classic for sure. And this is one that you haven't seen, Bryant, and we're going to be watching this because there is a legacy sequel coming out soon.
Yes, I have not seen this movie. It's one of the few horror movies that I have not seen. I almost watched it, and then we created this podcast, and I said, I'll go ahead and hold off on it. A little upset that this movie's coming out, and I'll tell you guys why I'm upset that this is getting a legacy sequel, because it conflicts with our scheduling, and I was excited for something else. But here we are, so yay, Hellraiser.
Yay. And this will be coming out October 7th is the legacy sequel, so we'll be all ready for that.
And you guys are just getting so much bonus. We're going to have this coming out, then the Hocus Pocus legacy sequel, then another episode of Hellraiser, and then the Hellraiser legacy sequel. I don't know if there's any other Halloween movies Oh, we also have the Legacy Halloween film as well. The ending to the Legacy trequel.
The Halloween Legacy Halloween film.
You guys are just getting spoiled. And if you want to continue getting spoiled, Caitlin, where can they find us on those socials?
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at OpSilverScreen. On Facebook, it's Operation Silver Screen. But on Twitter and Instagram, once again, that is OpSilverScreen. We're going to have some interesting content there for Halloween. We might have some special lists that we're going to be posting on our Instagram and on our Twitter. You can, of course, find Brian's Thursday movie night, where he posts a new movie that he's watching every Thursday, and you can connect with him on that. And I'm also doing my live tweet watch of the Halloween movies in preparation for that Halloween Legacy sequel, so you can find that on our Twitter. So definitely connect with us. You can also find us on our personal letterboxes. Mine's going to be at Coffee Spoon Kate, that's Coffee Spoon CAIT, and Brian's going to be at Swank Seal, that's capital S, capital S. And just in general, we want to show you some of the things that we're watching throughout the week and other movie recommendations we might have that we don't talk about on here. And likewise, we want to hear from you and hear your movie recommendations, the things that you like, what you think are must-see films. Please just let us know and connect with us.
Till the next assignment, we'll be in HQ. I'm Bryant.
And I'm Caitlin.
See ya.